Hello Internet, this is round 4 of the Glasgow Regional from a couple of weekends ago. Now I hope you've enjoyed my tournament run so far. If you haven't seen the last video then please go and watch it. I'm 2-1 going into this. You'll see my loss in the last game and the ridiculous circumstances in which they happened. And I'm coming into this 4th round game and I'm really not feeling too good because the two restricted Pokemon that this team really does not want to play are a combination of Xerneas and Kyogre, which are quite common, so a bit of an oversight I suppose for my team. But I was really not looking forward to this, and my most dreaded lead actually was Kangaskhan and Xerneas, and he actually goes for it here as well. So, not him on top and Rayquaza, I can't really lead that against the Xerneas. This was the first Xerneas of the tournament that I played as well actually. And like I've been through this situation a few times in testing, so I knew what to do. I guess get the Intimidate onto the Kangaskhan, so you know it's quite nice. Ho-Oh, like, is not going to be taking too much from like Kangaskhan's attacks. It's going to be taking nothing from the Xerneas' attacks basically. So you know, turn 1, he can fake out my Hitmontop, and that means he gets a Geomancy and I get to attack his Xerneas, or he fakes out my Ho-Oh and I get to, you know, just basically trade fake outs and you know, do a little bit of damage to his Xerneas and you know, bit of a wasted turn 1 really, and that's what happens. Interestingly though, I can see with that fake out damage, that fake out actually does a decent chunk of damage. Like, I'm appreciating that little sort of 9-10% that fake out has done. I get a little bit of leftovers going on as well, which is quite nice. Now normally, I think turn 1 in that position, I don't think I attacked the Xerneas there. I went for a substitute here that last turn, but now because I'm feeling a little bit more like pressured because we've done the fake out business. Like, I know what I'm talking about. I go for the attack this turn, and doesn't, like, if I'd gone for a substitute here, then okay, I would have been behind the substitute, but I do need to start getting some damage onto this Xerneas now, because like he's obviously going to Geomancy, and that means like I'm scared. So he gets like big blue fairy deer animation. Yay, nice bright colours. There we go. That's the animation done, and there we go finally. And I get my Brave Bird off onto the Xerneas, and because of that damage on with the fake out, I know that it should be a 2-hit KO, this Brave Bird, and it is. It's definitely a 2-hit KO. Don't want to go for the Sacred Fire because 1, it can miss, 2, it isn't quite as powerful. I do need to go for the Brave Bird, even though I'm getting this recoil. I do need to go for the Brave Bird to make sure that it is a 2-hit KO onto this Xerneas. Now I was a little bit scared because I've got Rayquaza in the back, and that's really my only way of hitting this Xerneas now, like outspeeding it and hitting it. And a Life Orb Extreme Speed I don't think would actually take out that Xerneas from there, so I was starting to get a little bit worried. And I go for the close combat onto the Kangaskhan. So, you know, my Hitmontop is not intimidated this turn, this game. I do just get to, you know, one-shot the Kangaskhan, which is really nice. But it was at -1, and maybe I could have had a case for just leaving it there and maybe going for the close combat onto the Xerneas, because then it definitely would have been in extreme speed range. So at this point, I'm actually quite worried, because he's got his Kyogre out, which is obviously threatening my Ho-Oh, and his Kyogre, if it is, you know, if it's running like, you know, modest max speed or whatever, it's going to be faster than my Ho-Oh, and if it's faster, it can knock me out, and then I can't do anything to his Xerneas. And I've got Rayquaza in the back, okay, but he can protect his Xerneas and Ice Beam, and you know, again, it might not be in extreme speed range, and so I was not feeling pretty good. I was just hoping that he would, you know, be a really sort of typical sort of Water Spout, Origin Pulse sort of Kyogre, and I could Wide Guard on it. He actually protects his Xerneas here, so he makes a really nice play. I do go for the Wide Guard. I'm still thinking, well, you know, okay, it's a shame that I've shown the Wide Guard in the face of a possible Water Spout and Dazzling Gleam, so, you know, maybe he'll just Moonblast next turn. But he, and I get the Brave Bird there, and he just sees straight through the Wide Guard and goes for a Scald onto my Ho-Oh, and so I'm thinking, wow, okay, so this guy, like, he obviously knows what he's doing, and, like, knows that, you know, Wide Guard is a thing, and I've got my Amoonguss in the back, and I've got my Rayquaza in the back. And again, I know that this Xerneas is not in extreme speed range, and I'm thinking, oh, I've lost the game. I've lost the game. I just had to play sort of smartly. I needed to play in his head. Now, I've just shown Wide Guard and a Water Spout or a Dazzling Gleam or whatever. I can Wide Guard on that. The only way as well that he can knock out my Amoonguss is by going for an Ice Beam and a Moonblast onto that slot. And my Amoonguss really is the only way that I have got of winning this game right now. So he needs to target that Amoonguss. My Hitmontop is doing nothing right now, really. So he needs to target my Amoonguss. So me thinking, like I'm in his head now, I'm thinking that right, he's got to Moonblast here, and he's got to Ice Beam the Amoonguss. So I protect the Amoonguss, because that's his only way of knocking the Amoonguss out. And he goes to the Moonblast. I'm like, okay. He goes to the Ice Beam. Okay, that's good. And I get a close combat off onto his Xerneas. So that was huge. That Xerneas is in extreme speed range now, which is fantastic. And if I can maybe keep my Amoonguss around, then I can sort of Rage Power their Ice Beams away and all that kind of stuff as well. So I'm feeling a little bit better at this point. A little bit better. And this turn, it actually goes for a Protect. And, like, this was a strange turn, because he could just do the same. Like, if I double protect, then, like, yeah, I mean, the chances of a double protect are quite low. I think he needed to attack this go, maybe, because he's, like, basically what I'm saying is, if he double targets my Amoonguss, then I can close combat that Xerneas and knock it out. Because we saw the damage from the close combat the last turn. We know that it is in close combat range. Like, you know, who would have thought this? Like a Hitmontop knocking out a +2/+2/2 Xerneas with close combat. But it is in close combat range. And so if he double targets on my Amoonguss, again, it's the only way he can knock it out. Then I'm getting the knockout onto his Xerneas. If he doesn't double target my Amoonguss, then my Amoonguss survives, and it puts the Kyogre to sleep, which is what happens. So I suppose it was a bit of a win-win situation for me there. If he double targeted onto the Amoonguss, then okay, he would have lost his Xerneas. If he didn't, then my Amoonguss survives, and I get to basically put the Kyogre to sleep. And so that's fantastic for me. This next turn, though, is a strange one. I go for a Protect on my Amoonguss. He's taken his guaranteed sleep turn now with Xerneas. Oh no, he hasn't. Not yet. He hasn't. That was just the animation going through for the sleep, wasn't it? For the spot. So this next turn, it is again a really strange turn. His Kyogre is asleep. The only way he can knock my Amoonguss out is going for a Moonblast. He can't. Well, he can go for a Dazzling Gleam, because that would knock my Hitmontop out as well. But I am threatening with the Wide Guard, and with the spread damage, my Amoonguss probably will survive this Dazzling Gleam as well. So I protect the Amoonguss, and he does Moonblast into it again. So I'm thinking, wow, I'm getting this right. Like, I'm doing something good here. And I do knock out the Xerneas with a close combat. So there you go. That's how a Hitmontop beats a Xerneas. Like, who'd have thought you'd see that? But there you go. And the game isn't over just yet. He's got his Ferrothorn. I've got my Rayquaza in the back. Again, I can Wide Guard, but he played around that the turn before. He's probably just going to go for an Ice Beam as well, because again, that is really the only way he can knock out my Amoonguss. And so I'm hoping at this point that his Kyogre stays asleep, and it does. He needed the 1 in 3 chance of waking up there to have any kind of way of winning this game, and he doesn't get it. So I get to close combat the Kyogre, and I get to Grass Knot it as well, which we can see, I thought it would do a decent chunk to it. This Grass Knot actually takes out the Kyogre. So there you go. We've had a Hitmontop knock out a Xerneas, and we've had an Amoonguss knock out a Kyogre here, which is fantastic. And with all of the defense drops, a Jarable is just going to knock my Hitmontop straight out there. So I mean, that's that. So I've got my, I've got my Rayquaza here. If his Kyogre had woken up there, then he would have probably just Ice Beamed into the Amoonguss, and Rayquaza would have come in. I would have got the close combat onto the Kyogre. It would have been at 50% HP. I would have had to have hoped that an extreme speed, I suppose, would have knocked the Kyogre out. I would have been in a bad situation because going for a Dragon Ascent onto the Kyogre there would mean that I would have been minus defense, and his Gyro Ball could potentially take my Rayquaza out. As well, he could have maybe protected with the Kyogre and then got 2 Gyro Balls off that way as well. So if he had woken up with the Kyogre there, then I could have been in a tough spot. But, luckily he didn't get the 1 in 3, and, actually, thankfully, I should have this game now. So, here's my Rayquaza. I know that as long as I don't go for, like, a Dragon Ascent and get the defense drops, and then he can knock me out with, Gyro Ball. As long as I don't do that, I should be fine. So, like, Amoonguss is sitting here doing absolutely nothing now. So I go for the Swords Dance, which is the smart play. It's not like showboating or anything. It is a smart play because I'll take only 1 round of Iron Barb's damage, and there's a little bit of chip damage from the Grass Knot as well. But it does mean that I'm not getting the defense dropped as well, which is the important thing. It's the main thing. Here's the Gyro Ball. We get to see how much damage it does now. So it does like just over half, and he protects her for some reason. Yeah, it does just over half. So if I did get the defense drop, then I probably would have survived. But there we go. It's just going straight into it, isn't it? I would have survived. A critical hit could have knocked me out. But it would have been a bit hairy. I would have been taking 2 rounds of Iron Barbs and everything as well. But I know a +2 Life Orb Dragon Ascent will definitely knock the Ferrothorn out. Like a +2 Life Orb Dragon Ascent knocks out Cresselia. It knocks out Cresselia. If something knocks out Cresselia in 1 hit, then it's knocking out a Ferrothorn in 1 hit as well. And so there you go. I mean, that was a game and a half, I think. Like, really, a Hitmontop knocking out a Xerneas, an Amoonguss knocking out... I mean, an Amoonguss knocking out a Kyogre, I suppose, isn't like a massive thing, but, like, I played that, like, immaculately. He was kicking himself, and I suppose I can understand, like, himself kicking himself after the game. He was saying that, well, he made some really bad plays and all the rest of it, but, like I sort of pointed out, like, he needed to double target the Amoonguss. I was threatening with a Wide Guard as well, so, I mean, it makes sense for him not to Dazzling Gleam into that, but he needed to go for the single target, attacks onto my Amoonguss to knock that out, and there was the various trades that could have happened as well. So even though he was kicking himself, I think that I'd sort of clawed myself into a winning position clearly, quite smartly. So I don't think he should be kicking himself. I was just really relieved because the interval was after this, and it would have been a real kick in the teeth to go into it at 2-2. Especially after my 1 loss was against those 2 critical hits as well in the round before. So going into the interval at 3-1, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling like I can do pretty well in this tournament. So that's that. That's round 4. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like and share and do all of the nice things with my video that you can do. And tune into tomorrow where you'll get to see round 5, which will be quite interesting, I'm sure. So thanks for watching, guys, and goodbye for now.